Welcome back to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to report on Silent Hill.
Yeah, this is a different brand of our usual brave game journalism. Today we're just being big old grown-ups because Silent Hill is so scary.
But it's back! Jump scare! Ah! But how? And why now is Silent Hill back? We will get into all of it in a minute, but here's a hint. A fat check from Sony.
Yeah, about time. If they're going to charge $200 goddamn dollars for a controller, they might as well break a chunk of that off and get Silent Hill going again.
Hooray for Sony money! Silent Hill, the very old and long dormant horror franchise, is back.
Yeah, to commemorate the occasion, Konami published a 35-minute presentation titled Silent Hill Transmission on October 19th. In it, the somewhat dormant publisher revealed 4 Silent Hill games and a new movie.
Oh, wow. And get this, only one of those games is a remake. Silent Hill is actually back.
For the biggest headline, though, let's throw it to our correspondent from the biggest state. How are the stars at night over there in Texas, Brian?
Oh, they're big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas. Thanks for having me. It's great. They're also, it's October, so they're only 101 degrees. So they've got jackets on.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Crisp autumn air. You don't smell your hair burning anymore.
So yeah, all right, let's get down to everything that was announced because it was a bunch. It was just jam-packed. But first up, obviously, big headline. Konami finally officially confirmed we're getting a Silent Hill 2 remake. It's going to come courtesy of Bloober Team. That's the Polish studio that made The Medium, Layers of Fear, and Blair Witch. But don't worry if you're like, oh no, this is a new studio, it's not going to be the same. Some of the original creators, including art director Masahiro Ito and composer Akira Yamaoka, will be closely involved. So we're going to have some of the OGs involved on this. As for what we alluded to earlier, yes, the game will be a timed console exclusive for 1 year, that's Uno on the PlayStation 5, as well as releasing on PC. So you got 2 choices for that first year.
It hurts a little bit, though. It's a bummer for Xbox users, but hey, you all just got Scorn. Tit for tat. I mean, Scorn's pretty good.
Yeah, a legend begins. Scorn Guy Origins. Actually, I really like that game, but hey, it's classic survival horror, right? Yeah, but Konami likely made a pretty penny off that year's worth of exclusivity, which could have been a motivating factor in greenlighting this remake in the first place. Sony and Microsoft are throwing around millions of dollars in just the past few years to load up games onto their subscription services.
Buying full platform exclusivity is likely in the tens of millions, even for a 1-year window. Epic Games, for example, paid $444 million just to secure store exclusives in 2020.
It does sound like it'll be worth it, though, for Sony, because that's how they have built their reputation on exclusives. So, and this is a big one to get for them. Matusz Leonard will lead the project. He was previously creative director on The Medium and Blair Witch. He said they want to preserve the atmosphere of the original while obviously modernizing a lot of the gameplay. That will include an over-the-shoulder camera that we saw in the reveal trailer. And Leonard said they went with that camera to immerse players deeper into the game and to give them a more visceral experience across the board. So you're going to be right there. You're going to be peeking right over his shoulder.
It's been too long since games were pitched as visceral. I can't wait. Gonna see all those weird mannequin monsters slapping you with their weird mannequin arms. Gonna be great. So yeah, the devs will use Unreal 5 to render all those mannequin monsters. They said it'll help raise the graphics to new, quote, highly detailed and realistic levels while turning the game's signature nerve-wracking atmosphere to 11. Man, we got a visceral. We got to turn it up to 11.
The team at Bloober will also rebuild Silent Hill 2's combat system. Same goes for certain set pieces and cutscenes, which will be redone with motion capture sessions. Meanwhile, you'll be able to explore the whole town without a loading screen, thanks to the PlayStation 5's much ballyhooed SSD.
So glad you said ballyhooed, Bruce.
I mean, I gotta say ballyhooed. Brian's from Texas.
Come on. Yeah, I had to throw a ballyhoot in there. We got to. Now, of course, this follows years of rumors that this remake was underway, even though Konami, they're a little more, they would be looking back and whistling at pachinko machines rather than video games, I feel like.
And they'd be right to do it. Well, I have yet to play one of them, and I really, really want to. I think you can emulate the Silent Hill and Metal Gear pachinkos. I need to look that up, but yeah. Funny thing, did a little digging on Konami because of this story. They have a whole fitness and sports business arm in Japan. We're talking like classes, gyms, equipment, subscription rates. They even snagged a license for jazzercise. So they've been busy and they're earning money. We'll get to more of that in a minute, though.
They have been very busy, but not in video games. So it's nice to see that Silent Hill 2 getting the full AAA treatment more than 20 years after the original release.
I'm just glad it's back. Like, it was such an iconic game back in the day, and I think the second one was the best one, so it's going to be great to see it get that modern treatment, because always in my mind they looked a lot better than they really did. So I feel like this is going to like match my memories of Silent Hill 2, if that makes sense, and I'll be just as terrified as I was.
Yeah, perfect summary. I feel the same way. 2 is the best pick. It's kind of where the series found its soul. First one has all the cult stuff and like the static and the fog, but 2 is when it got intense and messed up, and that's awesome. Also, Bloober Team is kind of the best developer that I can see in the world right now to handle a project like this. Layers of Fear had that sort of reality descending into projections of madness aspect, that kind of two-tone reality that's absolutely all in Silent Hill. So I think they've nailed it already. So to me, this is a slam dunk. They've got it.
It'll also be perfect for streamers too. Like, I feel like that ecosystem wasn't around back then, but I feel like horror games are great to stream, and I think it's just going to spread. If it's at all good, I think it'll be a sensation.
Speaking of streams, I have never played Silent Hill ever, any of the Silent Hills. So I will be streaming all of the Silent Hill games. I'm really, really excited, and you guys are getting me excited because I felt like I shouldn't go back to the past games because I was like, well, they might be good, they might be scary, they may not, who knows, because they're 20 years old. But now that we've got a remake, an actual modern day Silent Hill, I'm so excited to try it.
I'm really excited to see what you think, because they're clunky games as games. It's more the artistic aspects, the poetic aspects. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, but Silent Hill 2, that remake wasn't the only game announced, like we said, not by a long shot. Konami also announced a bunch of new games set in the same franchise.
One was actually called Silent Hill Townfall from the indie horror studio No Code, which previously made the episodic horror/puzzle game Stories Untold.
Yeah, Silent Hill Townfall's trailer showed a little small portable TV. Do y'all remember those? Like, I remember vividly watching Family Ties with my sisters crowded around one of them. But this one had a color screen, so it was really nice. But yeah, it's like receiving an ominous, kind of scary transmission. It had a lot of creepy images. Good thing the screen was tiny, because they would have been a lot scarier. But yeah, there were also, I noticed a lot of these weird, unsettling red waves in the trailer, kind of in the intro and the outro. So maybe a seaside, maybe we're talking New England, I don't know.
Yeah, that red cursive accent in the logo, the way they styled that, it just screams naughty, nautical New England.
Creative director John McKellen said on the broadcast that he's a longtime fan of Silent Hill, going back to the original in 1999, and that the franchise has been a huge inspiration for his studio.
McKellen called it an, quote, actual dream come true to work on the game franchise, and added, it's a real honor for us to bring a new title to this series that both respects the source material but also does something a little bit different with it.
Apparently this game came about because Konami producer Motoi Okamoto is a huge fan of both Annapurna and No Code and was, quote, determined to make this great opportunity a success. Okamoto hinted that even more production partners are on board at this time, but couldn't reveal them yet.
Ooh, which means they might back out. Silent Hill Townfall will be published by Annapurna Interactive, and McKellen said more will be announced next year.
All right, Brian, talk about Townfall, because I've never played Silent Hill, so you go right ahead.
This one was just creepy. This one actually was my favorite because it was just, it reminded me of like getting a creepy caller like in 1995, and he's just sort of being weird, and it's late at night, and you don't know what's going on, but you know it's obviously bad. I thought it psychologically was already had me hooked.
Yeah, I think the tone was dead on. Production wise, I see a lot of space in games right now for kind of lower spec horror, lower budget horror. Just spooky tales, you know, from devs all over the world. Anthology, basically, like Creepshow, but for video games. So hopefully that's what Townfall is.
Like Inscription, that was really good. Yeah, like Inscription was really good. Kind of did that.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that there are a lot of philosophical elements that are consistent across Silent Hill games. So if we even take it out of Silent Hill, literally, which is kind of what it's doing if it is in New England, then suddenly you start to have like different takes on these themes about projecting trauma and making allegories for more mental aspects of terror. So I would love to see a bunch of developers take shots on this. This is what we kind of been begging, if that's what it is. That's kind of what we've been begging Konami to let them do with their properties for years now. So Yeah, something similar to Dark Pictures anthology would be great. I hope that's what it is. But I'm kind of sold either way.
Cool. Moving along, we also learned that in addition to a remake, Silent Hill 2 is being adapted into a movie. It's called Return to Silent Hill, and it's being directed by Christoph Gans, who also made the 2006 Silent Hill film. Was that one good? I never saw it.
I don't think critics liked it very much. I actually looked up its Rotten Tomatoes. It's like a 40, but it is one of the best video game adaptations. Take that for what you will. I think the best thing about it is that it did definitely understand the philosophical heart of Silent Hill. Even, like, it kind of used Pyramid Head as a slasher villain. It's a movie. I can forgive that. But yeah, everything else kind of got a lot of what the games were about. So, thumbs up from me.
It was a classic, like, critics didn't like it, but the fans of the source material did. I thought it was good. Yeah. Not a high bar video game movies, but it's, you know, it's not quite Mortal Kombat, but it's up there.
Not much can be. And Bruce, I know what you're getting at. You might be thinking this movie's locked in. It's a lock because it's got the same director as the 2006 Silent Hill, which we all just agreed was a phenomenal movie. But no, Bruce, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. This is going to dwarf it, smash it into the ground. There's another infinitely more important and far more better reason, and here it is.
Christoph is the real gamer. He has been immersed in this world. Christoph is the real gamer.
Finally, gamer representation in the media. Finally, we did it. I mean, aside from this show, but we finally got one outside of this show.
2006 Silent Hill producer Victor Hadida is also returning to the project. Apparently both Hadida and Gans convinced Konami that a new version of Silent Hill needed to be done.
Yeah, Gans kind of talked about the differences between the first movie and then this one. The first movie explored the small town and the mist, obviously. He kind of compared it to like a Twilight Zone episode, but he said the new movie is going to be focused on the viewpoint of the protagonist, James Sunderland, as he searches for his wife, and compared to the 2006 movie, Gans said the new one is much more about psychological horror.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like the parallel between Silent Hill 1 and 2. You go from that story about the cults and just more traditional horror imagery to something that takes that stuff and makes it much more personal and much more psychological. So, makes sense. And I could see why Konami might have bought the pitch, if that's kind of what it was.
Both Gans and producer Victor Hadida said their goal is to respect the will of the game's creators. As for the monsters, Hadida said they will be updated, but they'll be similar and striking. So instead of Pyramid Head, we're going to have Sphere Head.
I guess it could work. Yeah, all the shapes. Why not? Just bonging into each other. The movie's reportedly scheduled to start shooting in February of next year with a release in late 2023.
Yeah, this also seems like a movie that if you keep it to a certain budget and it doesn't get out of control, that it's going to make a certain level because Silent Hill fans, I feel like, will come and see it and support it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel, but yeah, you're right. This is totally something Sony would do. And even Nintendo, I feel like, is trying to branch out into this as well. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to see them go from 0 to 200 miles an hour when it comes to Silent Hill.
So, this is interesting to me because the proximity of this, the remaster and movie treatment, it's like the Sony playbook these days. And that kind of made me almost convinced that Sony was actually doing the production for the film too. Like they get a piece of the game, they get a piece of the take from the film, and then all of that might be what convinced Konami to finally dust off this franchise. But it actually doesn't seem like that at all. Hadida just seems like a very accomplished, seasoned producer that has just a string of titles for the past 30 years, just a real movie maker. They paired up for the original film. They're back at it with this one. Hadida did all the Resident Evil films, so clearly knows there's a lot of money in horror and video game adaptation horror. This just seems like a real clean movie deal, which is cool. Not a whole lot of strings attached aside from just trying to make a good movie and make some money. So I'm looking forward to it. I was expecting a little more, corporate snaking, corporate sniveling, a cameo of Nathan Drake to show up in a post-credit sequence, something like that. So thank God that doesn't seem to be the case.
All right, no more movies. We'll go right back to games, sort of, a little bit.
Yeah, Konami also unveiled Silent Hill Ascension, which is actually less game-like. They called it a live, real-time interactive series. So Brian, you're gonna have to tell me what that means because I have no idea.
Okay, they described it as a communal horror experience where they all move to a farm together and try to grow their own vegetables. And it's terrible. It is terrible. Just kidding. It's where viewers decide on the course of events, which ultimately affect the outcome of the story. And the way they were talking, that it would like permanently affect the canon of Silent Hill. So a lot is riding on your choices, guys.
Yeah, this is exactly what's happening in streaming culture. It's The Quarry. It's Man of Medan. It's Until Dawn. That's the whole deal. So this is a super smart move. It's a choose your own Silent Hill adventure.
So yeah, the pitch gets even stranger with all the groups involved. You got J.J. Abrams' studio, Bad Robot Games, Behavior Interactive. They made Dead by Daylight. So we right there got some heavy hitters.
Yeah, and if you aren't dazzled yet, just wait till you see this full screen of text. Possibly written by J.J. Abrams himself.
Man, wait, am I at the Oscars? What's going on?
So also involved is the interactive live stream platform Genvid Technologies and DJ2 Entertainment. I looked on their website. They are a production company that specializes in movies and TV shows based on video games. So seems like a good fit. Not a ton of details yet on this. Abrams called Ascension, quote, a wild, epic, and innovative new way to immerse yourself in the horrors of Silent Hill.
Whatever it is, it'll be launched in 2023.
It's wild, epic, and innovative. That's what it is.
Yeah, it sounds like something no one's going to touch, but hey, maybe it'll be great.
It's a cool idea. It is probably the weirdest of all the projects, and to me, based on that description, actually feels the least like Silent Hill. Because to me, those games are all about solitude and introspection, not about a bunch of teens like running through a field, texting each other while they're going. And the repeating hammerings of like, you could be a part of the canon of Silent Hill. That doesn't make any sense because canon in Silent Hill doesn't matter. Silent Hill is like this poetic, impressionistic franchise that's more of an anthology than a continuous story. Characters die and come back, change names, say weird stuff. It's more like the world is more the rules of Dark Souls. So to be one of the schmucks in Dark Souls that like sells some herbs and then dies, that's not a very endearing well, maybe it is actually to somebody. I don't know. It's a neat idea. I'm still interested in what it's going to be, but it doesn't really sound super Silent Hillish to me, but I'm willing to be wrong.
I would agree, and I've never played Silent Hill. And last but not least is yet another Silent Hill game, and Konami saved the real heat for last. This one's called Silent Hill F, except it's one of those fancy swiggly Fs. Brian, the rich people letters are throwing me off. What is this?
Thank you for thinking I'm rich, first of all, but I'm also from Texas, so I have no idea. I called the cops when I saw that F. I was like, this looks like art. Mm-mm.
Silent Hill F is coming from the renowned visual novel creator Ryukishi 07, who is known for making games that are heavy on psychological horror and supernatural mysteries. I did a quick Google and found out that this is the author of Higurashi When They Cry, which is great and massively fucked up. It's a visual novel series that was adapted into an anime, which makes it a really weird watch. But hey, if you're looking for something to really keep you up at night, a good Halloween watch, go for it.
According to the YouTube description, the game is a completely new story set in 1960s Japan, featuring a beautiful yet horrifying world, of course. And yeah, if you haven't seen this teaser trailer, it is disturbing. You got a young woman, and then she is eaten by a flesh-eating plant from the inside out. It's disturbing for a very short trailer.
A lot of people just found out if they have trypophobia or not. Welcome to hell, everyone.
Yeah, Silent Hill F is produced by the former Nintendo developer Motoi Okamoto and developed by Neobards Entertainment, which is known for port work and the Resident Evil Resistance and Reverse multiplayer projects. Bruce, what do you think? I'm putting you on the spot now.
Oh my gosh, geez. Honestly, I have no attachment to any Silent Hill at all. So at this point, I'm gonna try all of these things. Probably if I'm, I'll be streaming, so I might as well just give it a shot. Try it for a few hours. That J.J. Abrams thing sounds like bullshit. This sounds a little bit more like I might be interested in it and I might give it a shot. But I really do love horror with disgusting imagery. I love it because it really doesn't disgust me. I don't get grossed out by stuff that's in a video game just because I know it's a game. So I'm really excited to try it and see what it looks like. Because I was playing Scorn with no problem. That's just all veins and blood and it's disgusting, but it's really cool.
it just looked creepy. I was like, is this Silent Hill Doki Doki Literature Club or something? It was like, I don't know. It kind of freaks me out. I might pass on this one. There's only so far I can go with horror. I don't mind jump scares, but like torture-y type stuff kind of freaks me out. And I don't know. Also, I have anxiety, so if you have that, every day is a horror movie. So
Yeah, maybe not a good call then. The slow dread and like eternal torture stuff feels like a little more common in Eastern horror. Fatal Frame is kind of the thing that pops into my mind, and some of those games are messed up. Yeah, so maybe not good. So this is something that I was sort of interested in. I was just curious why somebody had mentioned that like it seems weird that there's this shotgun of projects now when it's been quiet for so long. I was poking around trying to find some kind of narrative that reinforced why that might be, or indicated at least. My initial thought about like the movie and the game coming out at the same time was like, okay, it's a Sony play, Sony's putting money behind it, they're getting a piece of it on the tail end. Doesn't seem like that's the case. All I can see is that maybe Silent Hill never sold that well in the first place. I think that's number one. Is it's kind of a known franchise in games, but the only like the most recent number I could find, there was an older post on Reddit that cited a the whole thing, of 9 million at the end of 2015. That was after the most recent release in the franchise. So that has to be all of it, because PT didn't cost any money. The linked page, so it links to an informative page on Konami's website that doesn't even have the franchise listed anymore, which tells you something already. But anyway, let's say that you put in 9 million, the whole franchise forever, $60, full price for every single game, that's 540 million. That turns out being about a quarter of Konami's annual revenue just for last year. So they put up 229 billion yen in 2022, which translates to about 2 billion yen. So their entire Silent Hill franchise in games, all of it was 1/4 of their most recent revenue. A quarter is a lot, but that's also the whole franchise over like 2 decades. So yeah, as a game franchise, it was never a huge moneymaker. So that's probably why they didn't care much to step on the gas here, because the gains, even if it sells well, are still not that interesting to them. So they're in this position now where they can have a bunch of people coming to them to pitch them about the property they own. And then when they get excited about something, then they can say, okay, go do that. And I think that's probably what it was, is they were just sitting on this property waiting for interesting pitches. It seems like 2018, 2019 is when they started getting them. And then probably the influx of money into the games industry maybe made some of these projects float above water when otherwise they wouldn't have for Konami's financials. So yeah, it's interesting. Oh, just as a point of comparison here, Konami, $2 billion US dollar in 2022. That's about where Ubisoft was in 2021 in terms of size of revenue. They made 2.6 billion. Whereas EA's at 6.1 billion. So Konami's, they're on the smaller side, but not out of the game entirely. So that's my full theory for what it's worth. The good news is it just seems like Konami's back and wants to make some money in video games. So I hope they do.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool if it works. I think for Konami, it's kind of no lose. Like, I think they're not doing the work, or at least it doesn't seem like they're just lending out the license. I feel like maybe people saw, the Resident Evil remakes did well, not the same as Silent Hill, but I think there's a market for horror. I think there's always a market for horror movies. And this just feels like somebody sees some potential here. And it kind of makes me think of Dark Souls a little bit. Like, those were big in the video game culture, but still niche. But then Elden Ring kind of blew it up into the mainstream. And maybe they're hoping to accomplish something similar. I don't know.
I agree completely, Brian. That's actually exactly what I was going to say about Silent Hill is that it's been building its cachet over the last 20, 25 years. And now it's going to cash in on what it's got. And for me, PT was the closest thing I ever got to Silent Hill, because I was like, wow, like this is a Kojima produced, amazing, obviously, playable teaser that really had some promise. And I was ready to play that video game when it came out. I was ready to buy it and, review it, the whole deal. It never came out. So I was like, wow, boy, talk about getting like cut off at the knees for Silent Hill, because that was, in my opinion, that was its moment to explode out. So hopefully this time around, Konami will make some money with some really cool artistic video games, and hopefully everybody will enjoy them.
Speaking of enjoying, Bruce, I got some patrons here that have the silentest hills you've ever heard, or not heard, I guess. Aiden Foley, Pitstrip, Guthrie Leith, Kyle Ellis, Scotty Ryan, and Nick Calderon. I can just sleep like a baby on your hill.
My patrons are all about the really loud hills, the shattering hills. It's not called Silent Hills. Jeffrey Rogers, Raolo, Ray Pichardo, Toasty Ghosty, Mark Fletcher, and Xander. Thank you very, very much for being so loud.